Jess, sorry you're not feeling well. Or at least sorry you're not here. Hopefully this helps. Alright, not to feel better. Hopefully it helps her math. I mean, I can't get her healthy. But if we had 3x plus 7 equals 4x minus 2, what's the process that we take? How do I figure out what x equals? And I just made that up out of like thin blue space, thin blue air, whatever you want to say. There is a solution to this. It might not be pretty, but I can find a solution to it. For now?
Would we want to try to get try to find the value of x to see since x is it should have the same value, then the value of x should be equal to the answer to those both expressions should be the same.
I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like we're talking in circles. How do I get there?
So would we divide the stuff by 4? And then
Can never start with division when I have this much going on.
okay.
Oh, you used to do
Karen?
sad.
To isolate the x.
But my smartboard's been weird today. Taking a long time.
Would we have to get 4 and 4 together? 4 and 3 together?
I think I remember.
Right?
Don't you have to make that positive? The 2 positive? Something like that?
I can't make anything. I can do something, but I can't force things. Olivia?
I think that you would add 2 to the 7.
Close. I'm alternating gender if you haven't figured that out. James?
You add 2 to both sides.
I would do something to both sides, and I would actually do something to both sides twice, not the same thing twice. I'm going to do 2 different things to both sides so that, do you know what I'm trying to do, Ella?
No, but I was gonna say, do you add 4x to both sides? No?
We want to get all of my variables on one side, all of my constants on the other side.
That's what I said.
So, no. So, to do that, I look at where my bigger variable is, and I choose that for my variable side. That's just how I work. There's 4 different things that you could do here. You could subtract 3 from both sides. You could subtract 7 from both sides. You could subtract 4x from both sides, or you could add 2 to both sides. I am going to subtract 3x from both sides to get my x's together. Now, there's no x's over here anymore, and I only have 1x over here.
Oh, that's what
I still have minus 2, and I still have 7, and there's still an equals there. To get my constants on my left side now,
But now you subtract or add.
now I add 2 to both sides,
So it's
and that would give me that x would have to be 9 in this situation.
Times 1.
So we group together all our variables, all our constants on their individual sides, and then we solve for the variable. Now this nicely, once I did the subtraction, there was only 1x left over. If there was more than 1x, I would then have to divide at the end. Alright, I think I'm going to have to restart smarting.
or some call.
So, we want to drag these tiles. Obviously, you can't drag them on your paper, so I've laid them out on your paper so that you can draw lines. We want to match these tiles with what they match with. So you take a second on your paper to draw lines. I'm going to move these so that they look the same as what you have on your paper. So we're going to say A, B, C in both columns. So you've got A, B, C. A in my left-hand column needs to match which in my right-hand column? A in my left-hand column needs to match which? Baylor?
A in the same column.
It matches A because 3 times the S, 3 times the negative 5, if I do that distribution, that would work out. Now B in the left-hand column needs to match which? Nate?
C.
B would match C because
I don't think it does.
yeah, wait, how?
Wait, no.
Yeah,
not
you
like
mixed them
switch.
up.
Yeah.
Mixed them up.
You messed. You done.
I dropped him in the wrong place.
B equals
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
No, it's the other side. Nope. Oh, way up.
I got you now.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now we got it with our notes.
Oh.
Now it's right.
Because negative 3 times negative s. Oh, wait, Nate. Negative 3 times negative s. You're saying that gives me negative 3s? Hmm.
Oh my lord.
See, I knew it.
Approximately 3.14.
It doesn't go straight across either because negative 3 times positive s, that would give me negative 3s. It matches A also. Yeah. Because negative 3 times negative s would be a positive 3s. Negative 3 times 5 would be a minus 15 or a negative 15. B also matches A.
I bet the last one's the top
I
one.
never said you couldn't.
Yeet.
So think carefully about your last one here.
It's the top one.
What does C match? Lily?
I think it matches the other C.
C does match my other C. Because 3 times a negative s gives me negative 3s. And 3 times 5 gives me a positive 15. Now, the other thing here, though, is C also matches B.
Wait, is that a triangle?
C also matches B because the negative 3 times the s would give you negative 3s. Negative 3 times negative 3 gives you positive 15. So really, you could also say that these match. B and C in the right column are the same thing. This is really to reiterate, repeat, re-say, reiterate how tricky distribution can be. Because it can be written in multiple different ways. A and B here are essentially the same thing. They're just written with different signs in different locations. B and C in this column are essentially the same thing. These two are essentially the same thing, and they both have distribution. So be very, very careful when we start doing this distribution, because you gotta pay attention to what sign is where. When two negatives multiply, they make a positive. Questions, comments, or concerns? So this, in your notes where it has our intro, one of the biggest issues that I see students having is choice. When I tell you guys to choose what you do, you're like, oh, I have to choose crap. So we have two different options of how we can approach this. We can just take my subtraction and utilize it like subtraction, or, not and, but or, we could take it as the negative, and this would become A times B plus A times negative C. And then that would equal AB minus AC when I rewrite it and simplify it, which is, of course, what they have up there. But you just have to think through, am I using it as a minus? Am I using it as a negative? It cannot be both. It can only serve one purpose. Does that make sense? It'll make more sense when we have numbers to actually do the multiplication, but that's your option. You can either carry it over as a minus sign or carry it over as a negative value. So, is this correct?
Maybe.
I'm waiting for one of you guys to really realize that sometimes when I ask things, I'm phrasing it in a weird way. What do I mean by is this correct? Is this a problem that we're trying to see, like, what is the answer? No, what are we we're told these are equal. We're told, yes, this is equal. Except on the right-hand side, I have a little bit of simplification that I can do. So we're just looking for what's the value of C. This is equal. We're told this is correct or this is equal, but we don't know what C is. Because C could be anything. Guys, I can write any equation that I want and it's equal. I can write 4,297Z plus 14 equals 8/94ths C, or sorry, I said Z, plus 9. I could write that and say, sure, this is true. And I can solve it. You can make any equation that you want, but that's going to complicate what the variable value is. So when you see an equation, remember, it is true. It is set up. It is equal. You just have to figure out what the variable value that makes it equal is. So what would I do first here? Peyton, unfortunately, you're on top.
Should we do property?
We would distribute. Now, actually, there's two choices, but I'm not going to get into the second choice yet. So we, for this one, are just going to distribute. So we're going to start 4 to the 8, 4 to what I call the negative C, because I always think of it as a negative. I'm going to write this out. 4 times 8. I'm going to make this plus 4 times negative C equals my 8C. And actually, I'm going to combine on my right side. I'm going to do a little simplification. 8C minus 6C. How many C's do I really have on the right side?
Those.
2. So we have 2C plus 16. Now I'm going to simplify my left side. 32 plus a negative value. Well, I will just go ahead and rewrite that minus 4C equals 2C plus 16. Now we're in that situation. I've got a variable on both sides. I've got a constant on both sides. I need to choose what side is going to hold which. Nate, what would you choose?
The right.
The right. What about the right?
Oh.
Lamp answer.
Because it has a higher value.
Yeah,
Technically.
it's got a more positive value. So I decide to group my variables on my right side because to undo this subtraction, I add 4C on both sides. Remember, we're not trying to get rid of the 4. We're trying to get rid of the whole term. So to undo the minus 4C, I have to add 4C. I got some blank looks. Are we confused?
A little bit.
Nope.
Sheeb?
Then wouldn't it be 6 equals to 16?
Well, be careful how you're saying it because what you just said, we have 32 equal 6C. I agree with that. Plus 16.
Yeah, because I did subtraction. I did minus 16.
Yeah, you're jumping steps. Yeah, we don't want to jump steps. Unless you have multiple colors and you can really keep it straight in your head and do both of them at the same time. We like to do it one at a time. What do I do now to get with my constant on the left side, Ella?
Subtract 16.
Yeah, as Shahib already said, we subtract 16 on both sides. That will then give me 6C is equal to 16. To get the C by itself now, we just
Divide.
that kind of terrifying. Divide
Sausage.
by 6 on both sides,
I guess they're repeating this.
I thought it was the class.
and C will equal yeah.
1 and
Would it equal
What?
2 and 6 repeating?
No, 2 and 2
Or
thirds.
We like to write it in the irrational form, 2 and 2/3. Now, if you really love decimals, you could write 2.6 repeating, but still, that's not 100% accurate. We'd rather use the rational form. Sheeb?
Irrational is 8/3.
Yeah, this is rational. 2 and 2/3 is rational, but we could also leave it improper as 8/3, which actually was an answer on the mastery. I believe it was negative 8/3, but that was one of the answers from the mastery.
I think we do it.
Try this on your own. Solve for E. I do not have them done grading yet. You'll get those back tomorrow. Try this on your own. Solving for E. you. Allergic to math?
Yes. Very.
Is that a thing? Sorry, I keep it.
How'd you start up here?
Allergic.
This thing.
And there's a number right up against parentheses. We have to start with the distribution. That's my James. I have no idea what that even is.
It's the horrible histories. Oh. Ready for that.
Who can walk me through this? Thinks they can walk through the whole problem. Alright, I'm gonna bounce back and forth between Lily and Shahib. Lily, what'd you do first?
You do the distributive property on the right side.
We apply the distributive property because I have a number right up against parentheses. So that gives me 2e either plus a negative 8 or just minus 8. Now you should see something weird already.
I already see that.
What's weird, Shahid?
Because if you do +8 on both sides, they cancel each other out.
So if I add 8 on both sides, because I have a minus 8 on both sides, they cancel on both sides, and I have 3e is equal to 2e. Awkward.
So, dude,
Yeah.
Zero?
So if I subtract to try to group my variable terms, I get that 1e
Oh, so
is equal to, well crap, I have nothing left. E must be 0. Whenever you see contradictory values like 3e being equal to 2e, the only possible way that that can be true is if e is a 0. Questions, comments, concerns?
I'm concerned with my math skills, Miss Johnson.
Well, there's lots of ways to get better at that. Khan Academy is a great one. So, here is a process that I don't give you guys. Yeah, actually, I do give you some of it on your paper. So when
Solve the
we
equation
have
12
a fraction in front of our variable, we know that we can multiply by its reciprocal, but that gets kind of messy. Because imagine solving this problem. Imagine if you subtracted 5 from both sides. We'd have 7 on the left-hand side. Then we'd multiply by its reciprocal, and that'd be 7 times 4/3, and there's just a lot of work to be done. There's another process, another technique. That's why I give you the first step on your paper is already done for you. We look at, okay, we got a fraction. Look at the denominator, because what's really happening in a fraction is you're multiplying by the numerator, you're dividing by the denominator. So you're multiplying and dividing at the same time. We want to get rid of that division. So we could multiply by 4 on both sides. So we literally take my whole right-hand side. We say, all right, use 3/4 n plus 5. I'm going to get rid of this division by 4. How can I get rid of that division by 4? I can multiply by 4. So that's why on your paper, you have that much shown. At the very bottom of the front, you have that much shown. Then, what that 4 does on the right side is makes it just 3n plus 20. Because all it did was get rid of the division by 4, but then it had to distribute, so the 5 also got multiplied by 4.
So,
Yeah. That's why it's blank below there, and that's why I'm waiting. That's why I pause. And that equals 48 on the left-hand side. Now, it's a lot nicer to solve. Now, what could I do? Nate?
Subtract 20 from both sides.
Subtract 20 on both sides. I get that 28 is equal to 3n. And then, Shahib, divide everything by 3. And n will equal, what'd you get, Shahib?
9.32.
Yeah, so we're really just going to say 9 and 1/3. Now, we can solve it the other way. We can use the method that we've been using where we multiply by the reciprocal. That does still work. But this is just another option that you can put in your tool belt. Now, often I have people ask me, now wait a minute, don't we normally deal with the constant value first? So why here did we group the constant in the parentheses and multiply by the 4 that included the 5? What would happen if I don't group that in parentheses? What would happen if I don't do that first? If I do deal with the constant first? Well, let's try it. If I subtract 5 from both sides, that leaves me with 7 equal to 3/4 n. Now if I apply that technique that we just saw, where I multiply by the denominator just to get rid of that division, well, that's going to leave me with 3n equal to 28, which is exactly what we just had up there. So, yeah, you can do it in the other order. You could also just right here multiply by the reciprocal if you wanted to do it all in one step. So another option would be, instead of just multiplying by 4, multiply by 4/3, which would then have that divided by 3 and this divided by 3, which still will give you 9 1/3. Many right ways to get to Florida. All of them will get you there. Unless you make a wrong turn.
Isn't that, though, couldn't that be for any state?
Yeah.
Well, except for
I
like,
just choose Florida because who wants to go to Wyoming?
I don't know.
Guys are like, yeah, I do, actually.
Wyoming is a beautiful country.
Student A and student B. We always have these competing students. You guys just endless competition. One of these kids makes a mistake. Dum dum dum. That's like the Doom music.
Dum dum dum.
Which student makes a mistake and where does it happen? You are the teacher. Figure out who wins and who loses.
They both lost.
That's why I'm never going to
We're
take
all
class
winners
with
here
Rye.
in math class.
Mr. Conley, why did we all fail? Because you suck.
Because
You didn't do math right?
That's why we don't let 7th graders be teachers.
No, that would
It's
happen if
easier
Ryan
if you
was.
just fail everyone, right?
If Ryan was a teacher.
All right, find the mistake. Come on, Mr. Conley, find the mistake. You all tie your shoes. Both your shoes. Do you just not tie your shoes?
Yeah.
Dude.
One day you're gonna fall and break your neck and
But I
seriously.
don't leave my laces out with that.
One day,
oh, well, it's
Stupid.
gonna
fall. Didn't you fall and break your
Find the
collarbone?
You're gonna get shoved.
You
And
were looking
regret
across
it.
the room. John, I'm going to stop talking. Find the mistake.
Still had my shoes on.
By the way, I'm missing 5 calculators. Please keep an eye open.
I don't even know I would check it.
Because I should have 18. And I see 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so right now there's 8 gone from my rack. I should have 18. Oh, who the heck left this here? Either way, I'm missing calculators. I know I'm missing calculators. The number is regardless. Just keep an eye out for my calculators.
I lost my calculator.
I don't know.
Anyone figured out which one makes the mistake, A or B? Class, what do you think, A or B?
A. B. No, B.
Ooh, I heard both. All right, let's trace it out. Peyton?
A made the mistake because in the second part, the student subtracted 7 instead of.
So if I follow this out, and I'm looking for the same thing to be done on both sides, here I see addition of 7, so they try to undo that. So they subtract 7 and subtract 7. Why is that wrong? That's okay. Remember, there's a lot of right ways to get to Florida. That step is fine. Then, because there's division by 2, they multiply by 2 and multiply by 2. It looks like their process is okay.
They're all wrong. I'm telling you.
Proposition?
A proposition.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're proposing things, but okay.
Wouldn't the answer in the third step be negative 20 set positive 27?
Negative 20 minus 7 more. Karen? Okay, where at? So, if we multiply by 2 on both sides, if the first thing we do is multiply by 2, it would have to go to both values, and their 7 did not get doubled, so there is the mistake. That 7 should have been a 14.
Wait, so they're wrong?
Student B is wrong. They're the ones who make the mistake. It happens right there. So the multiplication was fine. They could have multiplied. It would have been okay if they did it correctly.
Wait, I don't understand.
So, right.
Oh, it's
They
negative
see-
20. Never mind.
What?
I thought that was a
That's where your mistake. That's where your issue was coming in. Is the negative 20?
Yeah, no, over there on student A, I thought it was a positive 20. And
No, that's
why
how they
would
get
add
negative
it?
27.
Alright, there we go. I'm good.
Questions? Wow, some of you guys need to go to teacher training and get better.
We're 13, but
Yes, I know. I'm
good to
making a
start
joke.
early.
All right, where does the mistake happen? We know student C. He's
C.
terrible.
I was right. I said student C at the beginning.
So follow out the work. I know it's a little hard to see. They have 3 minus this whole quantity. So then what's the first thing that they're doing on both sides? Can we just identify what they're doing? Pranav?
Are they doing the distributive?
Nope. Not from step 1 to 2. Ella?
Oh, sorry, I was stretching, but they are.
What changes? Look on your right side. What changes?
Oh,
They're subtracting 3.
They're subtracting 3.
Why?
Because they felt like it.
I want a minus.
So remember, a lot of right ways to get to Florida, they can start that way. That's okay. They're trying to get rid of that 3. Because what's attached to the what's attached to the parentheses is the negative. The 3 doesn't really have to be there. So they get rid of the 3, that's fine. But then also, in between this step and this step, well, they simplify on the right-hand side. But what do they do on the left-hand side? Karen? So what were they trying to do? They were trying to get rid of the parentheses. So to do that, they distribute. So negative times the y gives me the negative y. Negative times the half, there is their mistake. They needed to distribute the negative sign through the parentheses. So even if there's no number, even if there's just a negative sign, it still has to distribute through the entire thing to both values in the parentheses. Who actually had found that? I didn't think very many of us did because I didn't give you a ton of time to look at it. Some of you guys are really quick because you like pointing out when people make mistakes.
It's not on our paper.
I know. It's only up here. That's why I figured you probably didn't get it. Try. Here, we'll watch the video.
Now listen carefully, because I will only tell you this once. 1. You need to make 8 cakes. 2. Each cake, not counting the filling, requires 1 1/4 cups of sugar. And 3. You will need a total of 12 cups of sugar to make 8 cakes plus 8 fillings. Got that? Good, because I don't have time to stand here all day explaining myself. I'm a very busy chef. But what?
Just make a cake.
No.
Get the pie
it better be good.
Uh,
All right, you've got your details listed. Each cake, not counting filling, like icing, requires 1 1/4 cups of sugar. Head chef told me he's going to need to make 8 cakes and fillings, and we'll need in total 12 cups of sugar. So we need to write an equation that can represent this. We know we're making 8 cakes, and we know how much sugar each cake needs. We know that we're going to make 8 fillings. We don't know how much sugar each filling needs.
So X is the filling?
So instead of using X,
You could use F.
we could use F. Who thinks they know how to write out this equation? Give it like 30 seconds. Try to write it out on your paper. Write out some kind of equation. I'll give you a hint.
it's not this one.
It's gonna equal 12. You're gonna have a total of 12 cups of sugar. We know we have 8 cakes and 8 fillings.
Like icing.
Icing. But it's not like, so a lot of times they'll make some kind of different icing to go inside. Like, so, Vertical Adventures had a birthday this weekend. And did you ever go? The cake was awesome. It was pretty crowded, but the cake was really good. They had a filling inside the cake that was like a chocolate mousse, but then the icing on top was like regular icing, so I didn't like the icing on top, but the mousse stuff inside was awesome.
Chocolate deer on the outside.
So, or anyone know what fondant is?
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll put fondant on the outside of the cake because it looks really good, but you don't want to. Fondant actually doesn't taste that great. So inside the cake will be like like an icing filling. Pranav? Yeah. So Pranav thinks he has the equation. What'd you set up?
Is it 1 1/4 X times 8 equals 12?
You're close, but you're missing a key part of this.
Close but no cigar.
Olivia?
Okay, well, I had something else, but now I'm thinking of a different one.
Okay.
So it could be 8, and then in parentheses, 1 1/4 plus F.
Now, why'd you choose that?
What do you mean?
What are you really representing here? Because you're saying 8 times a quantity, right? So, how'd you decide this, the 1 1/4 plus F?
Because 1 1/4 is how much sugar is in every cake. And
Yeah.
then F is how much sugar is in the filling.
So, since we don't know the filling amount of sugar, but we know we're making 8 cakes and 8 fillings, I could have done 8 times 1 1/4 and then 8 times F, or I can just write it out 8 times 1 1/4 plus F, then equals 12. And to say this properly, if you want to say the math without saying parentheses, anyone know what little phrase we use? We'd say 8 times the quantity, 1 1/4 plus F, equals 12. The quantity is like saying parentheses. And you kind of like take a pause in your breath. So we need to figure out what 8 times 1 1/4 is to do this distribution. Break it up. What's 8 times 1? Easy, 8. What's 8 times a fourth? 2, because a fourth of 8 is 2. So that's really going to give me 10 plus 8F equals 12.
No thanks.
So we're going to have 10 plus 8F equals 12. Nate?
Do you subtract 10?
We subtract 10 from both sides. This is getting really bad. I have 8F, I'm just out of screen, equals 2. And when I finally divide to solve that, the amount of sugar in the filling, James, sorry, you keep having your hand up and I keep not calling on, which can simplify into 1/4 of a cup, which can just be C period. I'm going to abbreviate cups with just a C period. So the filling uses a lot less sugar. It only uses 1/4 of a cup for each cake.
Cake sounds good right now.
Doesn't it?
You should like bring it in.
Sorry.
You should like buy it
Be
for
cool.
us all.
You're right.
Like we
Or
don't
you
think
should.
it.
We don't pay
I'll
you
buy
anything.
it.
We should have a cooking class.
That's what
High school.
Friday Creative Start and May term is going to be used for.
I'm gonna make toast.
Yeah, we're going to start talking to you guys more about Friday Creative Start and May term coming up.
My brother
So try this. The length of a rectangle is 7 feet longer than its width. The perimeter is 26. Write an equation to represent the perimeter in terms of its width, W. Then find the length. The length is 7 feet longer than the width. You need to set up an equation for the perimeter. Easy place to start is, what do I know about the perimeter of a rectangle? Zach?
width times height. Wait, no.
That's area.
Wait, never mind.
Oh,
Length times width.
ooh, that's area.
And then
I'm just gonna write it.
Width times plus
oh
length.
yeah.
Width times plus length.
Plus.
Two widths and two lengths is what makes up your perimeter. You've got 2 widths and 2 lengths. So 2W plus 2L. But it's the fact that we want it all in terms of W. We want all of this in terms of W. So I cannot use this L, but I am told the length is 7 feet longer than its width. That's all I'm going to highlight and say. I'm going to shut up and see if you guys can figure this out correctly.
Alright, now I got it.
Is like swallowing mouthwash that bad?
I mean, it's not good.
Because when I was little, I remember eating
Okay,
mouthwash.
Rye, can we do the math?
I was just wondering. 'Cause my mom said
I'm
it's
not a
bad.
medical professional. You can talk to your
You're still alive.
pediatrician or your doctor or whoever about that. Or Miss Smith or Mr. Estes know more about the health side of
Oh,
it.
that's true.
Mr. Kabilo might be able to tell you chemically why, because the science. I don't know exactly what's in mouthwash. I know it's non-toxic because it goes in your mouth. They would never distribute something that would be mouth anything that would be toxic.
There is alcohol in some types of.
Yeah, but I mean, even with that, it
The one
would
I
take
use
a
is
lot.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Let's not get out of hand. I don't. What is that?
It's probably like bad for other, like your liver or your stomach or something. Something in the mouthwash is probably bad. Think you got it? That is not. Think about, what can I use for L? Yes. Except since we want to use it in terms of W, they said, just every X would be a W. You don't have to change it, but that's what it would be. Is every X would be a W. So, Ashton, what could I replace my L with? What could I replace this L? What could I substitute in for it? What do you have? And then I'll change the variable. X. That was your width. You made X. Your length you made X. Plus 7, because we know it's 7 feet longer than the width. So I'm going to make this, instead of using X, I'm going to say it's W plus 7. So everywhere that I have a length, I can now substitute in the width plus 7 more. So I can now say perimeter is 2W plus 2 times W plus 7. But I'm told the perimeter is 26, so I can replace P with 26.
Yeah, I screwed up.
And now I can distribute to make my life easier. This will be 2W plus 14. Once I do 2 times the W, 2 times the 7. I can combine my W's. Guys, I have not started solving. All I have been doing is simplifying. Now I'll be ready to start solving. 26 is equal to 4 width amounts plus the extra 14 on both sides, class.
Subtract by 14.
Subtract by 14, which gives me
12.
12 equals 4W, which would tell me that W is 3 feet. Got a label. What would that make the length? If W is 3, the length is 10. It's 7 more.
Stop.
You could punch a hole in it.
They've been lying to us the whole time.
They've been lying to you.
They've been lying to us.